Hey, Don Barnes here from Red Barnes Audio. And today we're going to look at Studio One, the fundamentals of punch and roll for audiobook narrators. This is a great product, and there's multiple versions, but what we're going to show today applies to all the versions unless I tell you otherwise. And I'm going to divide the demo up into two sections. Section one, we're just going to look at the product, and I'll just show you it in action. I'll make some mistakes, we'll fix them, and I'll show off some of the little features and talk about them in context. And then section two of the demo, we're going to take and I'll show you how I set it up, because you do need to set it up and customize it. And when you know a couple little tricks and tips, it'll just be faster to set up. The one thing about punch and roll, a lot of products have punch and roll, and the devil is in the details. The details are handled extremely well in this product, and that's what makes it one of the best in the industry. So hope you enjoy the demo. I'll throw my contact information at the end, so if you have questions or comments, send me a mail, call me, find me on Facebook, and let me know what you think. Here's a demo, Studio One, punch and roll. Well, now in this part of the demo, we're going to do a little bit of recording, and I'm going to start with the template that I use every time I start to record. And it has all sorts of settings preset. Now, they call this create a new song. And that's because most of the higher end recording software assumes a music perspective, and so they'd be starting a song. In our case, you can substitute chapter. I tend to create a new song for every chapter. So anytime you see the word song, you can almost always translate that into chapter in our context. So I have a template called Audiobook Don. I'll name it Demo 14. And you will notice also, for you musicians out there, time signature set to 2/4, and you can ponder why that is a little bit later. I'll explain it in the next section of the demo. So this template comes up. Now, just a side note, your Studio One won't look like this. Mine's set up with specific inserts down here. This is called the mix panel, and we're not going to deal with that in this particular demo, but I have all sorts of things preset, including the track is armed, the track is created. The pre-roll is already set up for me, so I can walk in. As long as I name it what I need, which chapter, this would usually say chapter 23 in the book name, I'm off and running. So let's start recording something right here. Introduction. Prepping is a hobby for some, a lifestyle for many, and a way to make sure that our families are protected should anything happen. So what exactly could happen? Many people ask. Well, in reality, anything could happen. I could be reading, and the sky could be falling, and I could be off the script, like I just was there. So I'm going to stop that. Now, obviously, I hope it's obvious, I got off the script a little bit, and let's listen back to this. The sky could be falling. All right, that's no good. I could be reading. Yeah, so we're going to pick up right here. Now we have the pre-roll engaged at this particular point, and the way it's set up in my configuration, I've set it up to allow 4 seconds of pre-roll before the recording starts. So the system, right now you can see my cursor is set, or the playhead, at 15.81. It's going to go back to 11.81, 4 seconds. But note that you can change that, and I'll show you how to set that up later. You might decide I have a narrator that likes 3 seconds pre-roll. I like 4. You might like 6. But whatever, you can have what you want. So watch this timer go back. All I'm going to do is press record, and I do have a keystroke. I should tell you, during the demo, I'll go back and forth. Most of the time, I'll use the mouse. But if I don't, it's because I've got a keyboard shortcut, which you can have too, and I'll show that during the setup. Many people ask. Well, in reality, anything could happen. Oh, and I lost my place in the script because I was talking to you, so I'm just going to stop that, and then I could undo that, Control-Z, and then I could back up, and I could go, I don't know, somewhere about 13 seconds, I think I said, or I was at 16 seconds, and the pre-roll was going to go back. Now let's make sure. In reality, anything could happen. Anything could happen. Now I should find that in my script before. In reality, anything could happen. So there we are. Now I know where I am in my script. I'm going to go back to this, and I will start that. Many people ask. Well, in reality, anything could happen. Preppers come from all walks of life and are preparing for vastly different things. Some are simply concerned that a natural disaster might strike and mess up. So you can see what I did there. I made a mistake, and I can go back, and I can press R again. I'll pre-roll 4 seconds. Instead, it'll start at 20.43. And as soon as I get to where this cursor is, some are simply concerned that a natural disaster might strike. And I don't have my script up in the right spot again. And so here's the cool thing. It's because I want to start right. I already preset up the right place. Just because I didn't find my script in time, I still was in the right spot. So I'm just letting this roll here in terms of recording. But rather than stopping it, pressing Control Z, undo, or delete, and getting rid of that, if I simply press Control Z, it does this great thing. It actually took out all that garbage that I just recorded and reset the cursor to 24.430, which is the exact spot I had it before. Now, if I look at that, I might expand this out a little bit and say, gee, I might have been cutting that a little too close. So let's put that here. But nonetheless, it brought it back for me. Watch this. I'm going to do that same thing again. Some are simply concerned that a natural disaster might strike. And I would be off and rolling here, but if I made a mistake by simply pressing Control Z, I'm now back to the exact same spot, 24.458, no matter how many times I do this. Some are simply concerned that a natural disaster might strike. And we're off and running and recording here. Control Z resets the spot. And that's just a great feature. So it's more than just punch and roll. It's punch and roll that's kind of what I consider a smart punch and roll. Most of the time, if I do record and I get a couple minutes of good audio and then I make a mistake, I'm normally only going back just a little bit and punching in where I want to be right there for this particular case. It's easy to find it in the script, and you do it all with the keyboard shortcuts. And when you're really good at it, when you've been doing it for a book or two or five, then what happens is it works more like this. Some are simply concerned that a natural disaster might strike where they live. So I missed that, and Control Z R. Some are simply concerned that a natural disaster might strike where they live and they would not be prepared. Take Hurricane Katrina or the Moore, Oklahoma tornado, for example. Now, all right, so there I just punched in and it worked, and you saw that I was able to go back multiple times. So the punch and roll has pretty much two implementations of that, of this pre-roll. I pre-roll in, and once I'm recording, if I stop it, I can manually set my cursor where I want. If while I'm recording I realize I just want to go back and I don't want anything in that take, then I Control Z while it's recording, and it not only eliminates that, but it puts the cursor back to the exact same spot. And if you're reading for a lot, you know, you get to those points where you make the same, I mispronounced the same word 3 times. I had to go out and find a pronunciation, and I still said it wrong the second time or the third time, or I missed my place in the script. For all of those pickups, it's piece of cake to go back. Now then there's another scenario that comes up where you don't like something that you did record, but you don't want to disturb what's before it or after it. And let's take this little phrase that's right in here. I either could punch in a single word. A lot of times I'm punching in a phrase. So, you know, the author comes back and says, I didn't say Oklahoma right. Some are simply concerned that a natural... Some are simply concerned is what that is there. And I'm going to start, for example, and re-record that. But let's pretend that I loved what was over here at the end. Now you have to, you know, work with me on that, okay? It may not have been brilliant over here, but let's pretend yours was brilliant. Therefore, I can set up this little region here and switch over to punch, and they call this auto punch. And in auto punch, well, let me just show you. I'm going to start here. Here's my little region that I've highlighted, and the pre-roll is going to start right at the cursor point, and here we go. And I'm preparing for vastly different things. So now it turned on at the start point of that region, and in just a second here, it's going to turn off. Take Hurricane Katrina or the Moore. And what that allows you to do is to punch in a little phrase, a little sentence. You can get down and do a word. I've done a word in many cases, but this is auto punch. So you can have these 3 major methods. The first one is regular punch and roll, which we talked about, and it just starts and it keeps rolling. And then when I make a mistake, I go back a phrase. Then there's the punch and roll where it's rolling and I realize I want to restart at the same point, and that's the undo or Control Z version of punch and roll, and I go back and it resets, and that one's great. And then the third one is the auto punch, where I'm punching in and I'm just highlighting a phrase. Now I need to tell you that these features, they have some additional features behind the scenes. For example, when you're more advanced, and I'm not going to go over them now, you can do this thing called record takes to layers. And what it does is it keeps all your previous takes. So in this region that I highlighted here, I could have it as I do the second one, it keeps the first one for me. And if I did 6 of them, I would have 6 separate takes, and they would just show up below. And I could go through and audition each one of them and decide, oh, I like number 3 or number 6, and promote it to the master track very easily. In addition, I can turn on my loop recording, and when the looping is active, what it would do is cycle through this phrase that I've highlighted, this region that I've highlighted, and I get to record the same phrase 6 times, twice, 3 times, 6 times, however many it takes to get the take I want. And then I could audition all 6 or just take the last one and automatically throw it up in my main track. And of course, you know, the reason people like to do punch and roll, by the time I'm done, I'm done. There's no editing after the fact. I've done it. And at first, it will slow you down, guaranteed. If you've been doing I used to do the finger snap method. I would snap my fingers, and then I would edit it all when I was done. And that's fine, and it does work. But what I hear in the punch and roll, it's smoother because I'm listening. My cursor's here. I'm listening to this pre-roll before. I have my tempo, my timing, even the space in between things. Come from all walks of life and are preparing for vastly different things. And if I breathe into it, that breath gets caught, just like it was the first time I was recording it all as one piece. So it's for me, it's come out a much cleaner recording, as well as a lot less time overall. But it did take some time to adapt to it, so I'm going to stop that there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut this demo off, and I'm going to go back. So let's review. You've got regular punch and roll. You had that pre-roll, you set this here, and then 4 seconds later in my configuration, it's going to actually start. This is the point it will start recording. It would go back 4 seconds from here. The second one, and then I go until I make a mistake and stop it. The second one, I start recording, I don't like something in it, and I realize I'm going to blow away this complete take. Control-Z will take me back, reset my cursor. I can press record again. I'm off and running. And I can do that as many times as I need to. And then the third one is the auto punch, which is a great little feature for just knocking in a word. And just as a bonus, the more advanced you are, when you have these come out, I also have EQ on my output and a limiter on my output that I can turn on and off. And what this means is when the author comes back to me 3 months from now, 3 weeks from now, or 3 days from now, and says, hey, you didn't pronounce Oklahoma right, I can go in and highlight Oklahoma and whatever that phrase is, and then I can run it through the exact same processing that was run on it before, and it's really easy. It's easier to match the tone. We all know if you give them something that's already been pre-processed and they hear something and you have to go back and fix it, you have to do all the same processing again. And because it's going to be saved with my template, all the processing steps I have here, it's all saved. Therefore, it's easier. It's never easy to match the tone, you know that. But it's easier if I do it right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that overview of Studio One Punch and Roll. And when I started this process, I thought I'd have one video that had both the demo and then the introduction or the setup, how to get everything configured. In the process of putting it together, I realized you'd be better served by having 2 videos, one which is just the demo, and then the second one which is the setup and tips and tricks for making your environment more effective for recording your audiobooks. So of course we do processing, we do narration. If we can ever help, our contact information is at the end. But I look forward to joining you in our never-ending quest to be more effective at recording audiobooks. So we'll see you on the wires.